I love Avowed, so I'm gonna spoil some stuff about it right off the bat. Cool? Here's your warning. Okay.
The second act of Avowed ends with an army of religious zealots burning down a city of necromancers. But here's the thing. You can save the city if you complete a certain side quest. The catch is that it's hidden, but it feels really good to pull it off, so I just have to talk about it. Avowed is set in Eora, the same world as Pillars of Eternity and its sequel, but you don't have to play those games to enjoy this one. Developer Obsidian definitely made the right call there. Plus, the studio released some quick lore videos to get new players like me up to speed. We have to get into some of that lore to get this video going, and I have to talk about my experience with the first 2 acts of Avowed. But trust me, that background info makes the payoff of the secret side quest worth it. We'll also talk about why it works so well.
This is a take, not a book report.
Here's your mini lore dump. The world of Eora is ruled by 11 gods, and they each have their own domains like blacksmithing, death, dreams, and even secrets. You can't walk through this world without bumping into their followers.
I suppose I have strong opinions on the gods, particularly those that cross the burned queen.
Sitting at the top of the totem pole is Woedica, the goddess of law, also known as the Burned Queen. Her most hardcore followers are the Steel Garrote, and they are not a very reasonable crew. Think Crusades or Spanish Inquisition, using military might and violence to convert people to their faith. As for the nations of Eora, the largest continent is Adir, and its empire is vast. One of the exceptions is the Living Lands, a free island with self-governing cities. Unfortunately, it's also the home of the Dream Scourge, a nasty plague that has been corrupting nature and making people go crazy. It's your job to find the source. You are a godlike, a rare individual touched by one of those 11 deities. There's a big mystery in figuring out who it is, but you do have strange visions and mushrooms growing out of your head, so that's something. I definitely get Last of Us vibes from all the fungus. Anyway, the ultimate answer to which god is in your soul is pretty rad, but I'm gonna say you should play the game yourself to figure that out.
We have questions. We must know.
You are a godlike envoy sent to investigate the plague on behalf of the Adiran Empire, so the free people of the Living Lands are a bit hesitant about accepting your help. Also, the Steel Garrote is on the island too, and we already know that can't be good.
You got all that? Cool. Now let's talk about what happens when you arrive.
After the tutorial/prologue, the first act takes you to the coastal region of Dawnshore. You're supposed to go to the Adiran embassy in Paradise, but as soon as you set foot inside the city walls, you get assassinated.
Envoy.
Luckily, the god that empowers you is able to bring you back. Video games, baby! The main goal of Act 1 is then to figure out who killed you.
Solving your own murder? Pretty cool hook.
At the climax of Act 1, you'll find your killer and his crew in a secret hideout beneath the Temple of Andra, goddess of the ocean. When you confront your killer, Egwulf is his name, you get a choice between cutting him down yourself, telling him to GTFO, or handing him over to the justice system. Imperialism sucks, so I totally get why he didn't want Adirans invading his home. Ultimately, I decided to spare his life myself, but let someone else pass the sentence. The important thing here, and what I want you to bear in mind, is that I was presented with clear choices. Get my revenge on Egwulf, let him go, or let the system handle it. Once you make this choice for yourself, you'll meet Inquisitor Ludwin at the embassy. She's the commander of the Steel Garrote, and everything about her screams villain. She's driven by pure religious conquest, and her armor couldn't look more evil if it had babies impaled on it. The god voice inside of your head knows she's bad news, and she's very clearly presented as your main antagonist. Before moving on to Act 2, we get a glimpse of just how cold she can be.
You are free to disagree with my methods, but you cannot stop me.
Act 1 was a fun murder mystery, but Act 2 is a big bummer. Emerald Stair was once a thriving farm region, but the Dream Scourge has choked it out. Now it's mostly abandoned farms, dying forests, and nasty swamps. The central city of Ivèrno seems to be faring a little better at least. It's home to a collective of necromancers known as the Animancers. They might be able to raise the dead, but ironically, they can't seem to bring their own farmland back to life. Food is scarce, and some of the side quests involve stolen crops or Zorip raids on what little usable soil is left. There's a rot among the Rangers too. This security force is meant to keep the peace inside and outside of the city, but they're not in the best shape right now. The food shortage obviously affects them, but they're also facing internal conflict. Rangers are going missing, turning up dead, or worse, succumbing to the Dream Scourge. One side quest, simply titled Missing Rangers, tasks you with tracking down a pair who, well, went missing. Rangers Adelaro and Belena apparently had a little romance going on, which makes it all the more tragic that both came down with the Dream Scourge during one of their outings.
Something's not right with her.
More pertinent to this video is the side quest Steel Resolve, which sees you rooting out a traitor among the Rangers' ranks. One suspect, Dorso, is ultimately revealed as the villain by the end of that questline. There's a sense of frontier justice in cutting her down, ending the internal threat yourself. At least that's what I did. She was a goner either way, I figured. Unfortunately, Dorso's damage had already been done. You see, the story quest in Emerald Stair involves exploring some ancient ruins and learning more about the unknown god who's been looking out for you. But when you emerge from those ruins, you're met with an awful sight. Fior Ivèrno burning to the ground.
Oh my god, no!
You can race back to the city, but it's too late. The entrance is blocked by flaming rubble, and the roads are being watched by the Steel Garrote. The traitor Dorso let them creep in right under the Rangers' noses, and they took Emerald Stair by force, burning down the city in the name of their own burned queen. Your only recourse is to meet with the survivors at an abandoned farm to the north. Emerald Stair's governor is understandably pissed, but all you can do is leave this region behind and enter the next zone on a really sad note.
Unless you save the city.
This is where it gets good. If you explore Emerald Stair thoroughly and pay close attention before going too deep into the last story beat, you'll realize there's something else going on here. There's a side quest called Food Theft, where a farmer asks you to find some of his stolen crops. They were taken by a group of refugees from Paradise who are currently hunkered down in a cave. But pay attention to what they're talking about here.
People in armor, skulking about in the forest, and it's definitely not the Rangers from Fior.
Well, if it wasn't a ranger, then who was it? Depending on how you handle yourself at the Temple of Andra in Act 1, you might even be able to recruit your own spy that can give you a similar report. There's definitely something under the surface here, and I'm not talking about dead tree roots. So let's say you follow your nose and eventually discover that Dorso betrayed the Rangers. Question her, and you'll learn that a squad of Steel Garrote is hiding in a waterfall cave nearby. And that is where the quest officially stops. That's what makes this next side quest a secret. It's unmarked and it's unprompted, but it's essential if you want to save Fior Ivèrno. You need to go with your gut and find the hidden cave nearby. The Steel Garrote are indeed in there, although they'll tell you to shove off when you find them.
Either you've come early, or more likely, you shouldn't be here.
But we're not about to let these lunatics take the city. If you go full Rambo and clear out the cave, your party will remark that you just stopped something really bad from happening. Find Ludwin's orders to burn down the city, and you'll learn exactly what type of crisis you averted.
You're telling me the lady who dresses like this had an evil plot? I'm shocked.
This time when you emerge from the ruins, you'll see some smoke rising from the skyline, but nothing like the inferno from the other outcome. Thanks to your work in the cave, the Steel Garrote's greater force was eliminated, the Rangers were able to hold the rest back, and Fior Ivèrno was saved. You'll pass the bodies of enemy soldiers on the way back, and you'll be free to revisit the city for the rest of the game.
What happened to Fior Ivèrno could have been worse. A lot worse.
So those are the two outcomes of the quest, but why do they work so well? I can think of a few reasons. First, remember that story is more than just cutscenes and dialogue. Player actions affect the plot just as much as the clear-cut choices you make at key moments in the game. Confronting Igwolf comes with the very obvious decision to handle him yourself, send him away, or hand him over to the authorities. But Act 2 hides its happy ending behind a secret side quest. That shows some real trust in the player on Obsidian's part, and I think that's wonderful. If the alternative is dropping another waypoint on the map and spelling out exactly what you can do to change the outcome, there's no thrill of discovery there. Avowed is all about that organic discovery. You can start so many quests by finding key items out in the wild rather than talking to a quest giver in town. You don't actually need a treasure map to find its related treasure. They're out there no matter what. You can fight bosses in the wild and pick up their trophies without even realizing they were on the bounty board in town. I dove into a lake and found a sunken meteorite that made a bunch of revenants go feral as soon as I resurfaced. Only after the fight did I find a note about returning this treasure to a priest of Andra. That surprise find and the ensuing fight were way more exciting without any sort of heads up. On a grander video game scale, there's a rule of thumb about always checking behind waterfalls for secrets. That's been a thing since the original Legend of Zelda, and there are some instances in Avowed too. In this case, you can find the Steel Garrote's hideout before you even start any of the ranger quests. In fact, that's exactly what I did. The Painter's Regret treasure map made me a little suspicious. I also learned that if you don't save the city, the cave will become just another Zorup camp if you visit after the fact. So, while the side quest to stop the Steel Garrote and save Fior Ivèrno is a secret, this idea of exploring the world and discovering the hideout is fully in line with the rest of the game. Obsidian trusted the players to follow their own curiosity, whether it came early in Emerald Stair or after confronting Ranger Dorso. Sadly, she's not the only ranger who may die over the course of Act 2. Even if you do save the city, you'll end this chapter on a nasty note. The gateway to Zone 3, the Shatterscarp, is where you'll encounter another batch of Steel Garrote. They've just killed a handful of rangers, and their captain has some threats for you from Ludwin.
Yeah, Ludwin and her army are still a pretty big problem. We should probably do something about that before the end of the game, right?
But my spoilers stop here. If you want to see how these choices resolve later on, you'll have to play Avowed for yourself. If you couldn't already tell by the rest of this video, I highly recommend that you do. The quests are intriguing, the combat is a blast, and exploration is incredibly rewarding.
Can't believe they're dead. It's over.
Hey, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like what I'm doing here on Framework, please hit that subscribe button in the middle. It would help me out an awful lot if you do. And if you want to see what I've already cooked up, you can hit that link on the far left. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.